Welcome to another edition of the Rebel Room, a Las Vegas Sun podcast. I'm Ray Brewer alongside Mike Grimala, talking all things UNLV athletics. And Mike, it's the glorious time of the year where we've got dual sports to talk about. The UNLV basketball team on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, plays Southern in the lid lifter at the Thomas and Mack Center with the new court, of course. And football Friday has a game against Wyoming. The UNLV football team 7-2, looking to go to 8-2. Still very much alive in the race for the Mountain West Championship. I guess we'll start basketball. Why waste any time beating around the bush? Is this the year that they go to that thing called the tournament? Where the best 68 teams go. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I actually just turned in my predictions for the season. I said yes, NCAA tournament. I've got them 11-1 non-conference, 13-5 in the Mountain West. You add that up, what's that? 24-6.
13-5 in the Mountain West.
Yeah. That's fourth place for me.
Okay.
And I feel like this is a league where you're probably going to get four teams in. So you do that, you win a game in the Mountain West tournament, you're in the semis, you're playing on that Friday for the first time in 9 years, amazingly, if you can believe that. And I feel like that's probably going to be enough. You get to 25-7 after the conference tournament is done. You sit down on Selection Sunday, you beat a couple of ranked teams during the season, and you hear your name called. You're like a 10 or I don't know where you would be bracketology-wise, but I feel like that gets them in.
25-7.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wins.
It's a lot.
Okay. I
surprised myself. I sat down. I started going wins and loss, the schedule one by one. I gave them some tough wins. I gave them some surprising losses too, I thought. But
yeah, every season has a flow of surprising losses. Unfortunately, the last 9 years, there's been more surprising losses than surprising wins.
I've got them splitting with San Diego State.
That would be surprising.
I've got them splitting with New Mexico. I've got them being swept by Boise State. And I've got them sweeping UNR, which may be surprising. UNR is supposed to be good, but Kevin Kruger's never lost to them. He's undefeated. He seems to have their number. They won up there last year.
His only saving grace.
So I wouldn't say only at this point, but yeah, so I didn't feel like it was completely out of the realm as I was going through it. I've got them beating St. Mary's in a neutral site game in Phoenix. St. Mary's is ranked. They're number 23 in the preseason poll.
Barely. What about Florida State?
I've got them winning that game and winning the next game in that Sunshine Slam that they're playing in Daytona Beach in a few weeks. Florida State, and then I believe the second game will either be Colorado or Richmond. And I got them winning that one too.
Okay.
Do you think that's is that too much to expect?
Well, my primary concern is they play Pepperdine in Malibu on Friday the 17th.
They do.
Right? And then they've got to go from LA to Florida. Right? LA to Orlando, I'm guessing.
They'll probably fly directly into like Daytona Beach or somewhere like closer than Orlando.
For a Monday game.
Yeah.
Against a team that doesn't have a big commute.
Yeah.
And not knowing as much as I know about Florida, I should know about Florida State. But that seems like the Pepperdine game for me is going to be a challenge. They're only going to be, a 5 or a 6 point favorite that day?
I also put some stock into last year. UNLV played really, really well in non-conference play. Like one of the best things about them was that the coaching staff had them completely locked in for those first 10 games. Like some teams come out of the gate still trying to figure things out, style of play, strategy, rotation, and it works it out. But UNLV was not like that last year. They came firing out of the gate. This is exactly who we are. Everyone's bought into the game plan, and they ran off those 10 straight wins. So I think you'll see some of that again this year. I think that they've got a pretty good grasp. There's still some fluidity in terms of players' availability, but I think that gives them an advantage maybe early in the season if they play Florida State. And, UNLV's got 6 games under their belt. Florida State's got, the same amount. And I feel like UNLV probably further along development-wise at that point. I don't know how many points that's worth in the spread, but I feel like it's worth something.
Yeah, I mean, the guy at Pepperdine, Lorenzo Lomar, I don't even know how to say last name. He's coached before.
Yeah, he's coached big time programs.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me that's going to be a hiccup game, a game they're going to have to fight to until the end, in my humble opinion. But it's good to talk UNLV basketball. You'd mentioned the roster.
Yeah.
The Boone brothers, one is going to miss Wednesday's game. UNLV's got no more comment on it other than the guy got a DUI, and it's just one game. Slap on the wrist. We'll have the hearing after the season. Blah, blah, blah. And it is what it is, right?
They've got to win 24 games, so he's going to play in 23 of them, is basically what it comes down to. And then the twin brother, Keelan Boone, still waiting for that waiver from the NCAA. I don't think he's going to get it. But the good news is UNLV and Kevin Kruger seem pretty optimistic that if there's another route where he can graduate this semester, because he is a fifth-year senior, so he's got a lot of credits racked up. He can graduate this semester, and if you're a grad transfer, you can play immediately.
So he's going to grad transfer from UNLV to UNLV.
Yes. So in a roundabout way, it'll be like a delayed grad transfer. He'll be available for the games that occur after his graduation, which I don't know when UNLV's semester officially ends or how that works. But
do the grades have to be posted, or
or does he have to walk across the stage, or I don't know what the official marker of graduation is for the NCAA's eyes. But at some point in December he would become eligible, and they'll get him at that point. So you probably won't get him for the first month of the season, but they will get him for the important games, and that's good because he's been really good in practice. Like he and Justin Webster just today. I'm just coming from UNLV practice. They had a stretch in warm-ups where they were going one after the other in shooting warm-ups where the whole team goes through the drills. And combined, they must have made 20 in a row between the two of them. So if you can get those two guys on the court at the same time, that's a good look offensively.
20 in a row with no defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a drill. But
I mean, you could have made 10 in a row.
I have in the past, but not these guys. When I say it's a shooting drill for them, you and I would be completely winded after going through like 2 rotations because they go through it, fast and they're running, and so I don't even think I could make it through the drill. But those are 2 excellent shooters. So if they can get Keelan Boone back, the sooner the better. But it sounds like they'll have him for most of conference play. That's good.
I would say some of the optimism is DJ Thomas, the Liberty grad. Who would have been a McDonald's All-American, but he reclassified. He got to UNLV early. True freshman, running the show. How quick until he gets acclimated to
That's a good question.
Division I basketball?
He didn't play in any of the. They had 2 closed scrimmages. He didn't play in either one because he had a little bit of a hand injury, nothing serious, but they didn't play him. But he's been practicing, and he's going to. Kevin Kruger said he's a full go for Wednesday. So Kruger seems to believe that he is just a natural, and he's just going to go out there. They're going to give him the keys, and he's just going to let his talent do the thing. So. He's very fast. Like you've seen him play a bunch of times. He's really fast. He's going to be the fastest guy on the team with the ball in his hands. Maybe among the fastest in the conference. They're just going to turn him loose, go score, create assists, get out in the open court. So in terms of that type of thing in non-conference, when there's not a whole lot of scouting and it's more open court, and he's just running as fast as he can, great. I'm assuming he'll come out and start really fast. The question is when conference play starts, and they're playing Colorado State, and they've got a fifth-year senior at point guard and a bunch of seniors like knocking him around on screens and contacting him, and the game's slowing down. What does he have in his back pocket at that point? So that's where the coaching's. You got probably a month to coach him up and get him ready for those kind of games.
Yeah, what a fun time to be in. The roster's revamped.
You think they're going to make the tournament before we move on?
I don't know. I mean, you could have asked me, the last time they went to the tournament was, 12-13, right?
Yeah.
And you could have asked me every year since then if I thought they were going to the tournament. And I probably would have said yes, in the Dave Rice years, probably every year, right? Marvin Menzies' first year, absolutely not. I mean, that was the worst team I've ever seen at UNLV,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe Marvin Menzies' second year, even though they got Brandon McCoy and there was a ton of hype.
And they started out that season very well.
Yeah.
They looked like they were for real, but then they were not.
Yeah, but didn't they finish like third in the league that year?
They did have a year where they believe they went 12-6 in conference play, and they did finish with a high ranking. But it was one of those years they didn't beat any of the top 5 teams, and they swept all of the bottom 6 teams. So UNLV was like the middle of the road marker. Yeah. It wasn't like they were a real contender.
Here's my deal. I'm not again. It's been a while, right? And UNLV has struggled. The only thing they've consistently been is inconsistent. And they've had so many good stretches of good plays over the last 10 years, right? They've beat ranked teams. They can't sniff the NIT. They can't win the league tournaments at their home court, and they're either A, playing in the playing game, or B, losing. Like, haven't been. When was the last time they played in the semifinals?
2014. The last time they played in that Friday semifinal game. That's a long. That's almost more unbelievable than the NCAA streak is the fact that they haven't played in the semis of the Mountain West tourney in 9 years.
And to me, you have to play in that game to be in consideration for the league.
Yeah.
And if you just get blown out by. Like San Diego State, if they blow you out both times, and if Boise beats you both times, somehow you're going to have to grab some wins in league against some of the teams ahead of you on the pecking order.
I think, speaking to your point about inconsistency, I'll take the glass half full role here because I think that I tell you, you've got Jalen Hill, who's a fifth-year guy. You've got Luis Rodriguez, who's a fifth or maybe even a sixth-year guy. You've got the Boons, who are both fifth-year guys. You've got Justin Webster, who's another super senior. Like, these guys have all played a ton of college basketball. You know what you're getting, basically, from all of them on a nightly basis. So I think consistency-wise, you're good.
How many tournaments have those guys played in combined?
Jalen Hill has been in there, I think, did the Boons make it with Oklahoma State? I don't know. I'd have to go back and check.
Did Rodriguez make it with Mississippi?
So you may not have a ton of tournament experience. Hill's made it twice. So I feel like you've got a baseline of at least 5 or 6 guys in your rotation who you can pretty much count on to deliver. They may not be superstars. And then you throw in a guy like DJ Thomas who might be a superstar as like the ultimate ceiling raiser. If he comes out and he's awesome, which he might be, then your ceiling is just so much higher. So
I think that the one hope would be that you brought in like a guy like Jalen Hill from Oklahoma, and the Big 12 is arguably the best basketball league in the nation, and in Mountain West he'll be a world beater.
Yeah.
Right? And then, Webster and Rodriguez will continue to progress. And with Thomas bringing the ball up the court, that gets the ball out of their hands, maybe lets them be a better version of themselves. And then the Boone brothers, if they play and how they play or whatever they play, they're the cherry on top.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I could see that, especially because Keelan may be like a second half addition. So I could see them being like you said, that they sort of raise the level. But yeah, I'm not so much worried about I don't think they'll bottom out. I don't think there's a chance that they're like bad or seriously underperform expectations. I think, what's the worst case scenario? Like 10-8 in Mountain West play, like, just barely above 500. I feel like that's their worst case if everything goes wrong, which is not that bad. But then their best case is probably, if everyone plays, great and DJ Thomas is, the national freshman of the year, then you could be looking at like a Mountain West contender. So I'm pretty high on them this year.
Okay. Well, I think we need to trust you because you're the man. You're closer to the team than most, and all systems a go. But even if basketball struggles, at least we got the football team.
And when was the last time you could say that?
Never.
At the football team still in play for the Mountain West Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. great season. Really liked the game against New Mexico last weekend where they just beat up on an inferior opponent, ran right over them.
Vicious.
That was impressive to see because, first of all, that had to have been the largest margin of victory on the road for UNLV ever. I can't remember. This is a team that could never get a road win. And in previous years, a game like that would have been still a touchdown game. And they just destroyed the team on the road. It was very impressive.
Yeah, their offense continues to be just, the surprise of, well, not so much a surprise. We knew it was possible. But just the feel-good story, like this offense, like every week, 40-plus. This week, 50-plus. Jaden Mayava, freshman quarterback, 3 touchdowns, 300-plus yards this week. Ricky White, he's going to go over 1,000 yards. He's going to be all Mountain West at receiver. He could make a case for All-American at receiver, depending on how he finishes the season. He's number 11 in the country in receiving yards?
Yeah.
He's having a crazy good season. They got a bunch of running backs that all have 8 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns. But the interesting thing, or what I'm looking at this week with Wyoming, if you win this game against Wyoming at home, which you should probably, your favorite, I would assume, that sets up UNLV at Air Force, where if you beat Air Force, you then are tied with them and have the tiebreaker over them for the Mountain West title game. So it's almost like a win and you're in kind of situation. So would that be the biggest game in the program's history if you go up to Air Force next week with a chance to play your way into the Mountain West title game?
Yes. Yeah.
So that makes...
The Las Vegas Bowl game against Arkansas was pretty significant. It's when, John Robinson was here, and there was this great hope that UNLV could become that football competent school that they needed to be, right?
Yeah.
That was a big game. SEC opponent at home. UNLV was 7 years removed, give or take, 8 years removed from being good in basketball. There was still no pro sports here. Locals were desperate for something. They showed out in full force at Sam Boyd Stadium for that Arkansas game, and they beat a SEC opponent. That was a big spot. I don't know if going to play in minus 10 degree snow at Air Force with nobody in the crowd is going to be, it's significant on the outside looking in, but only if they get to that Mountain West title game. I'd rather win that than a bowl game. I'd rather be the Mountain West champions than a bowl champion.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The Mountain West, I think we did this on the last podcast too, where we got so far ahead of ourselves, but it's funny because just to think that UNLV, we're even having a conversation about the Mountain West Championship. But I wonder what the odds are, the futures for, they've got to be probably third in the league to win the Mountain West Championship at this point. And to have that happen in Barry Odom's first season, I don't think anyone saw it coming. But, pretty much all they got to do is beat Wyoming on Friday night, and then that's the situation you're looking at. So this is kind of a... Are you worried about a look-ahead situation?
For me, what I think is important about what's going on with football is that it looks and feels like this might not be a one-time thing, right? Because UNLV has pieced together good seasons every 20 years, right? Or bowl qualifying seasons every 20 years, and then they return to their losing ways. And for me, the fact that the infrastructure is in place now to where, right, they've got the highest paid coach. They've got the best practice facility. They're playing in this NFL stadium. They've made an investment in football for long-term growth. And you're seeing it right now in a 7-2 season. But if they go back to 4-8 next year, the Mountain West is just, I think when you talk about the infrastructure, you also need to just talk about the state of the league. Because the Mountain West is a league where the teams they're playing against are just massively undersourced, right? Hawaii can't get a new stadium. They're playing on campus. San Jose is going through a major rebuild right now. Reno, we know their struggles financially and how that stadium looks. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've seen the Reno crowds. There's nobody at the games.
Yeah, we were just up there a couple weeks ago.
A community that has nothing else going on. There's not a single person at the game. A guy I'm friends with on Facebook, his son plays for UNR, and he's got video of them like running onto the field with his kid holding the flag. And I swear to God, it's like they're practicing running. There's nobody there. Like gigantic portions of the stadium, right? Colorado State's in great shape financially, maybe better than UNLV, right? New Mexico, you were there last weekend.
Yeah. Not
exactly, a football haven. Boise, of course, has great history and tradition, but they're struggling. They don't have a good coach.
Yeah.
That guy's going to get fired. UNLV right now is checking all the boxes, and it's at a historic low time for their league. They don't have to beat Utah or TCU or BYU or whomever for league bragging rights. They're beating, it's so perfect right now.
Yeah, I must be in a good mood because I'm super optimistic. I would say, when the chaos gives you an opportunity to UNLV, why not use this opportunity to become the number one flagship football program in this conference? If everyone else is down and struggling and having all these existential crises with their football programs, you are not. This is the golden era for UNLV, so why not seize it and go the extra mile and try to establish yourself as the Boise State for the next 10 years, which means when when Brennan Marion gets an offer from Bowling Green to be the head coach this offseason, or some Power 5 team, South Carolina says, hey, we'll give you $1 million or 7 figures to be our offensive coordinator. Do you step up and try to retain him and pay him an extraordinary amount to stay? When someone comes for Odom this offseason or next offseason, do you pay him twice as much as any other coach in the conference? How far are you willing to go to establish yourself as the dominant football program, if you think that's a possibility? So those are the kind of questions UNLV will be facing, I think, big picture after the season. But those are exciting questions to ask, and all they got to do is beat Wyoming on Friday, and you're looking at some just huge possibilities.
Yeah, and UNLV's a 4-point favorite against the Cowboys at Allegiant Stadium. The late Fox Sports Net game or whatever it is.
Yeah, maybe a lot of eyes on UNLV. Maybe for the first time this season, a lot of people maybe tuning in to see them. It's a good matchup. I like their chances. Wyoming, a power run team, they just want to pound it. UNLV, surprisingly good against the run this year. I think they are top 25 in yards per carry allowed and yards per game allowed on the ground. They prioritize stopping the run. They commit bodies to the trenches to close down running lanes. I think it's a good matchup for them. I think they'll score points. I think they win.
And the Doug Brumfeld update is there's no update.
Yeah, he did not make the trip to New Mexico. Second week in a row, he has not traveled with the team. I don't think we're going to see him again this year. I think he had the concussion. He lost his job. He's not suiting up now for road games. I think if Jaden Mayava were to get dinged up during the game on Friday, I think Cameron Friel goes in, and he's your number 2 guy. And I don't think we're going to see Doug Brumfield again, which is sad for him. He was coming in. This was supposed to be his season, but it just didn't work out that way.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's our Rebel Room. Mike's got the basketball team in the NCAAs, the football team in the Rose Bowl, and he's the most positive he's been in
I'm in a good mood.
His entire life here on the Rebel Room. Thank you, everybody, for reading our coverage, especially when Mike's on the road, and supporting the Las Vegas Sun newspaper